On March 29, 2024, Nigerian banks were set on a journey to recapitalization. For those with an international banking license to raise their share capital and premium to around 500 billion, for those with a national banking license 200 billion, and for those with a regional banking license 50 billion. As of today, 3 banks have hit that target: Access, Zenith, and Ecobank Transnational Incorporated. So on to the show today, we are going to be looking at the race to the new capital. We have till April 2026. Welcome to Economy and Market on BDTV, where we give you a comprehensive breakdown of market and economic activities. I'm your host, David Olujimi. In our last report on Business Day, we noted that banks needed to raise 2.47 trillion to hit their target. We have about 26 commercial banks in the country. As it stands, Zenith and Access Bank have hit their target, taking their minimum paid up share capital to 621 billion and 603 billion respectively. However, we've got some serious capital to be raised, either from the equities market or from private placement, essentially. A breakdown shows that we still have FCMB needing to raise 230 billion to finance or to continue their international banking operations. Fidelity has 994 billion naira to help them continue their international, considering the fact that they have a branch in the UK. GTCO Holdings has about 8 or 9 international subsidiaries. They need to raise 152 billion. First Holdco, that is the group containing First Bank. Essentially, First Bank needs to raise 99 billion, and UBA with 20 African subsidiaries needs to raise 145 billion. These figures are just for the banks with the international license. Essentially, a review of the tier 2 and tier 3 banks. Now we begin to talk about banks like Stanbic, Wema, what do we have now? We have Globus, we have Premium Trust, Jais, and the likes. They show that we will be seeing some serious recapitalization action this year heading into next year. However, we are already in the middle of 2025. Citibank, for example, needs to raise a whopping 186 billion for them to be able to sustain their national banking license. Unity+Providus is coming up with a merger that would require them to raise around 442 billion, while newer banks like Premium Trust and Globus Bank will need to raise 174 and 154 billion respectively. On the show this morning, we are having Professor Segun Ajibola, who is a professor of economics at the Babcock University and the past president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, who will be discussing on the feasibility and the impact of the mounting pressure on the banking community. Good morning, Professor. He's an aficionado of banking and finance Nigeria. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, it's very nice to have you on the show this morning. So we'll be getting started right away. So what's your take on the recapitalization that has been done so far? We've seen banks raise over 2 trillion naira. Access Bank has been the biggest raiser so far. What are the lessons so far we have been learning?
Yes, thank you, moderator. It conveys just one major message, that the environment has a lot of respect, a lot of trust for the banking industry. It also shows that banking as an investment outlet has been so profitable in terms of returns, in terms of stability, and in terms of the capacity to manage risk. That is what has been demonstrated by investors across the various strata, the low, the middle, the top level investors in banking industry. So that has helped the banks mentioned and others that are still in the market to garner such money. You know, banking thrives on trust.
Yes.
For any individual to be a stakeholder in that industry, be you a shareholder, be you a depositor, be you a creditor, you must develop certain level of trust because it's service. Banks sell intangibilities. So it's not that it's a product you want to find out how effective it is. It's different from Omo. It's different from a bottle of Coke. So you must have trust in that system, that is the Nigerian system, then in the financial system, then in the individual banks, the capacity to manage resources. All these combined must be positive to influence your decision and desire to invest. So that has played out very well in our own environment as of today.
Okay, now the question I want to ask is something relating to what you have just said. How do you see investors responding to capital raising initiatives? This year, we may see not just banks going to the market to raise funds, considering the high cost of funds. Last year, we saw our brewers, we saw international breweries, Nigerian breweries go to the market to raise funds. This year we've heard champion breweries say they want to go to the market to raise funds so that they can meet up their free float requirement, and also raise funds for some of their operations. We may be seeing investors looking at the market. Do you think it is safe, or is it wise now that other sectors are going to also compete with banks for some of these not so accessible resources? Is it a smart move from other non-banking companies right now?
No, let's dimension it too.
Okay.
Those who are investing in the shares of banks.
Yes.
That's one type of investment. You are investing in the capital market. There are some of the names where maybe we might have mentioned here that we may not necessarily mention, that are also approaching the market to raise working capital by way of commercial papers, by way of short-term loans, and so on. That's a different segment of the market. So those who want to invest in short-term options, they will go to that kind of market. So somebody raising a commercial paper for 90 days, for 160 days. If I'm investing there, I know that in 90 days, in 180 days, I have the opportunity of reassessing my investment options. It's different from somebody who is investing in Access Bank.
So, sir, I'm even looking at it from the perspective of some of them who are going for right issues, like champion breweries say they want to do a right issue. International breweries too did a right issue. Nigerian breweries did a right issue. They raised significant, like 500 billion naira last year and things like that. Some other companies too are looking at that space and saying this is a non-interest funding that they can raise for themselves. Do you think it's a smart move for them to begin to head in that direction while the banks are also heading in that direction?
Why not? And you know also that the multivarious investors, some of them also have international investors, like some of the names you mentioned, they are multinationals.
Yes.
So investment will also flow into the country from the foreign shareholders.
Yes.
So some of them will not rely exclusively on this local environment, the local economy, to raise funds. They have the capacity to raise funds from here and there. And even for some of the investors we are talking about, one major issue in investment of this nature is your ability to diversify. So an average investor will also not just be looking at the banking industry alone. You want to be in telecommunication. Like when MTN raised their capital the other time. You want to be in food and beverages, like Nigerian brewery, like Guinness. You want to be in other sectors, construction, iron and steel, and coal. So an average investor is also looking for a portfolio that will contain a number of outlets so that there is no over-concentration in one particular sector. As profitable as banking industry has been, we've seen crisis.
Yes.
We've seen investors losing money. We've seen shareholders losing money. So no investor, an average investor will also not want to put all his eggs in one basket. So other sectors of the economy are approaching the capital market to raise
Okay.
money.
So
And an average investor who wants to diversify.
so because of time, I want to ask this question quickly. We have
Okay.
you have been in this banking space for years. I probably say decades because I've gone through your profile. I've seen that you've been around for quite a while. You've seen different stages of capitalization, recapitalization exercises. You've been in bank. You've seen banks come and go. Essentially, now we have these tier 2 and tier 3 banks, just the way we used to have them in the past. The way we used to have smaller banks that will go on to merge during the recapitalization. So we are at that stage once again. We always, Nigerians probably just know, very familiar with maybe 10 out of the 26 banks we have. We have Premium Trust, we have Globus, we have Nova Bank, we have banks that have transitioned from merchant banks into commercial banks, and we are not hearing a lot from them as regards this recapitalization thing. So some of them have capital base of 18 billion, 14 billion, 25 billion, 26 billion. What are the challenges that they would most likely face? And one thing is, most of them are not listed, or majority of them, 90% of them are not listed. So what are some of the challenges that you think these banks will face in meeting the recapitalization requirements?
That's a challenge because the shareholding is restricted, some by choice, some by operation of law. If you are not a PSC, you can't go to the open market to raise money. You are aware of that.
Yes.
So you are restricted to your private shareholders. So maybe some of them will consider change of status.
Okay.
Maybe some of them
from
will
national
consider
to regional banks.
exactly the option of mergers and acquisition, which at times is a problem. You see, in 2004, 2005, one of the problems that emerged from this exercise then was the fact that some of the banks then had the problem of culture, problem of what you can call on a compatibility.
Compatibility, yes, a compatibility issue.
In terms of culture, in terms of ability,
yes,
to mingle together. So that may be an issue when considering the options available to these banks. Do we merge? Do we acquire? Are we going to flow together? Are we not going to be strange bedfellows? Are we not going to be struggling with somebody whose culture, whose orientation, whose level of discipline, whose corporate governance practices are far different from ours. In 2005, and contributed to some of the problems that we saw in 2008, 2009. And there are some smaller banks with excellent culture, the lending culture, corporate governance practices, discipline, orientation, and so that an environment like ours should not lose because of what they represent in the industry, because of the undiluted kind of professional ethics and professional ethics and code of conduct that they have. So, to me, I think I will still plead with those banks to do everything possible to remain in the system, to retain their status. And if merger, acquisition, whatever, becomes the last option, to be wary of how they go about it, not just out of desperation to fulfill all righteousness. The problem that will emerge later will be much more than what they are trying to manage today. So banks that cannot meet national, they stay as regional. Subsequently, when they have the capacity, they can go back to where they are coming from. Banks, like you said, that are still struggling with 25 billion, 20 billion as of today, and diversify their shareholding outlets,
structure. Yes.
invite more and more from within and from outside, and be able to meet. It pays the system better, it pays the economy better if we have some of these institutions with a impeccable corporate culture to still remain with us. I, as a banker, I will prefer that option in the area of ethics and professionalism, in the area of capacity, human capital development, and so on and so on. We lost some of those names in 2004, 2005. That is something we should do everything possible to avoid this time around.
Okay.
So it's just an appeal to those banks to do everything possible to retain their identity, so that they'll be able to maintain their culture, their discipline, their corporate governance structure, and co.
Okay. One last question I have, sir, is about how the recapitalization is going to affect the broader economy, especially in terms of lending capacity and financial stability. How do you think this is going to play out for basically the entire economy? Like, we are going to be seeing, we're seeing quite a bit more market activity going on since the recapitalization thing has happened. Now our market capitalization in the NGX is heading, as at yesterday, closed at 70.9 trillion. Maybe today we're going to see it enter 71 trillion, but it's pushing more, jerking more towards the 100 trillion naira mark, almost a golden mark. How do you think it's going to play out, especially for the economy? Is it increasing the lending capacity of the banks? Is it leading to more rigid and more rigorous banks? Or what was your take, sir, especially considering your experience with previous recapitalization exercises?
Yes, one of the reasons for recapitalization is to increase the bank's capacity to help the economy. And there's a very strong nexus between the state of health of the financial system and the state of health of the economy as a whole. When the banking industry has the capacity, that capacity will be transferred to the economy as a whole, in the area of lending and other ancillary functions. Now, when we are talking about the level of capitalization, do not forget, at the international scene, everything is reduced to dollar.
Yes.
The level of capitalization as at 2002 convert to dollar figures as at that time. Then the same level of capitalization convert to dollar figure as at today. You will know the difference. And that will affect the international ratings of our banks. It will affect their capacity to handle transactions, especially dollarized transactions that are denominated in foreign currencies. So for them to be able to handle, first of all, the level of transactions, the quantum of transactions they used to handle 2021, 2022, 2020 thereabout, they need to raise the level of capitalization by that percentage of the decline.
Okay.
The value of the currency, the value of the capitalization in dollar terms. That will bring them to par where they were some years back. So for the economy to now grow, not just in naira terms, but like I said, because so many institutions compare the size of our economy in terms of a dollar, not in terms of naira.
Yes.
So for your International Monetary Fund, for the World Bank, for our trading partners, for our for our creditor nation, we as a debtor nation, for international financial institutions, for them to be able to rate our banks and rate our economy, we need to raise our capacity in terms of the value of bank capitalization, the value of the transaction they can handle, not in naira terms, but in dollar terms. So that's one of the major reasons why we are having this recapitalization exercise.
Okay.
Importers will import in dollar. So irrespective of how much we are putting in naira terms, we still have to come back to that question. What capacity do we have to handle this volume of transaction in dollar terms? So that is one of the major reasons why banks need to recapitalize to be able to meet the level and the volume of transactions they used to handle, and much more, because the economy itself is growing.
Yes, sir.
So they also need to grow. Even in dollar terms, they need to grow the level of their capitalization. So as at today, that capitalization level had gone down by reason of the devaluation, the value of our local currency naira.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, sir. That's all we can take on economy and market this morning. Thank you so much, Professor Segun Ajibola, for being with us this morning. It's been a lovely discussion we've been having this morning. Have a lovely morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
To our viewers, thank you for being with us on BDTV on economy and markets. We'll be back on Friday. Have a lovely morning. This is your host, David Origini.